Good morning, guys. Welcome to the stream. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Back to trading. Got a busy day here today. It's first day back to school for us here in Phoenix. Go ahead and get our charts cleaned up for the week. Just right click on the screen. Go to drawing tools, remove all objects. We'll get rid of all of our lines. We'll start fresh. Alright, we'll go ahead and mark our overnight high. Hit F6 on the keyboard. Then same thing with your overnight low. Just hit F6, mark the overnight low. Looks like we have a little bit of a channel starting here. Go ahead and mark that up, F3 for a diagonal line. You can click on that, Control C to copy it and Control V to paste it. And go ahead and draw it up to this one here. It looks like may have a channel forming there. Might be smaller than that, but we'll figure that out once the market opens. Hopefully we head in that direction today. We do have some news coming out this morning at 10 a.m. New York time. We have the housing market report, existing home sales. Go ahead and bring that up real quick. Basically what that is it's a good indicator of the housing market health. Let's see here. And that's this one here, coming out at 10 a.m. If you're looking for this housing market report, you can look at the you can see the address here. It's research.investors.com. I'll go ahead and paste that in the chat. It's free. The thing I like about this one is you have the reports that come out. If you scroll over top of it and you click on it, it actually gives you a nice definition of what it is. And it also lets you know what impact it may have on the markets. Red will indicate a high impact, yellow will be medium impact, and then usually blue or green is low impact. Has quite a bit of news coming out this week, so good report to have. Morning, Bobby. Appreciate you guys supporting the stream. This is our going into our second week now. I was looking at the analytics for the stream over the weekend, and looks like we've had people from quite a few different countries. Let's see if I can bring it up for you guys. There it is. So we've had people from obviously the United States, where we're based out of, New Zealand, Italy, Sweden, Singapore. Let's see. Singapore, Germany, Canada, Mexico, an unknown region. I think that's actually we haven't had people there from there anyway. So, anyways, appreciate you guys supporting the stream. So far, it looks like whoever's been watching from Kansas, you guys are our top state for the United States. I've had 18 hours and 15 minutes watched so far. Appreciate that. I can get this fixed now. There we go. Oh, come on. Alright. So basically, if you're new to the stream, what we do here is we're testing a strategy based on 50% Fibonacci retracements, and I'll walk you through the entry, the exit, risk management, and just basically how the strategy works. Everything that you see here on the screen is they're all free downloads. If you're looking how to get those, just read the description, and all the download links are there, and you guys can follow along with the trading. Definitely hoping for a better performance this week. I know last week was pretty rough. I think we ended up down I think close to like $700 or $800, but I think we'll do a lot better this week. One indicator that I don't have in the description down there on how to load that in, but it's also included in the NinjaTrader 8 platform, are the pivot points on our screen here, and you can see how they react to the pivot points. All you're going to do is right click on your screen, go to indicators, scroll down to pivots, and just double click on that and add it to the chart. One thing you want to make sure you do is make sure that it's calculated on bar close. One of our viewers last week, Paul, had mentioned how the market was reacting to those pivot points, but we didn't have them on our screen, and some of our trades had failed based on, we were making trades here for a long, and then it would pop right up and hit this pivot point and come back down. So we were losing on those trades. So this will give us a little bit better idea of where, obviously we'll place our trades either above for a long or below for a short. So, and we'll explain all that once we get into the trading. We'll also make this channel here on a little bit shorter time frame. This is our 15-minute chart here that show you how to set that up down in the description also. Been in somewhat of a downward trend here lately. It is just a retracement for an uptrend though. As you can see on the daily chart, creating sort of a bear flag here, or a bull flag, heading in an upward direction. We are due for a little bit more significant retracement. And the way you're going to draw that in is basically just hit F8 on your keyboard for the Fibonacci retracements. Grab the most significant low up to the high. And on the daily chart, we can expect it to, if it is going to pull back, it would pull back down to the about the 27.55 area. Don't think it's going to pull back that much, but it's good to have an idea. If it does pull back, and it pulls back pretty hard, you can expect it to go down to that area. So this is on the 15-minute chart. We still have sort of a retracement here going. We'll draw that up. Go for a little bit shorter range here. So on the 15-minute chart, if it's going to pull back, you can expect to go down to this area here. One thing I want to do is, when we're in a downward trend, obviously you're going to be looking for a short. So based on the strategy, you would actually go from the most recent high, most recent significant high, down to the low. And as you can see right now, that short is actually set up. It's set up in the overnight, pulled back to the 50% retracement, and now it's heading back towards the first target. Interestingly enough though, it's already triple bottomed here, and it just so happens to be at that pivot point. So we'd be looking for a reaction somewhere right around 27.94 this morning if it does drop. So we'll keep an eye on that. But back to our 512 tick chart. We use the tick chart because you get more of a feel of the speed of the market than, say, a 1 minute or 3 minute chart. With a tick chart, it'll draw the bars based on volume, and as it draws those bars faster and faster, you can sense the volume increase in the market. Whereas a 1 minute or a 3 minute bar, no matter what, you're going to see bars being drawn on the screen in measured intervals. It just gives you a better feel for price action. And things like that, and market speed. I know we were in a trade last week when Trump, what the heck was it that time? Trump went after the Fed, and it drew like 8 bars right after he announced that, or once the news came out about that. And we were actually in a trade at the time. We didn't get a chance to get out of it before we got stopped out. Of course, we were in a long. So All right, looks like we're all set up for the morning. We're just going to wait for the market to open in about 13 minutes. One thing I did want to show you guys, if you look on your screen here, this is your chat area for the chat box. Feel free to talk amongst each other. You know, if you have questions for me or anything about the stream or how to set up, just type it in that chat box there. If for some reason you're scrolling over this and it says you need to create a channel, it's real easy to do. You just go up to your little logo up here. You'll click on that, hit I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure for you guys it'd still be Creator Studio, and then click on Channel down here, and that's it. And you just name your channel. It's free. That way you'll be able to type in the chat. We definitely want you guys to be able to join the conversation and ask any questions you might have. Alright, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to do some trading. I'm going to grab some coffee and I'll be back in just a minute. So we're going to be starting fresh this week as far as our account goes. We are obviously using simulated accounts to do our practicing on. So you'll go up to your account list here, Sim 101, right click, edit, reset, yes, and then OK. That'll give you a fresh start. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in real trading, but when you're practicing, if you need to do that, just go right ahead. I'll just go ahead and explain some of these, some of what these numbers are up here. Cash value is basically the amount that's in your account currently. Excess intraday is what's left in your account after you're in a position. So if we go into a position and our intraday margin is 1,000, this would go down to 4,000. Excess initial margin is going to be how much margin, how much cash you have in your account after your margin, your intraday margins are accounted for. I guess it'd be a little bit easier to explain if we were in a trade, but you could actually see the fluctuation in the numbers. Initial margin is how much margin it costs you to place the trade. For NinjaTrader and for other trading platforms, the initial intraday margin is normally $500 per contract, and basically what that is a deposit, so that if your position goes north, or I'm sorry, if it goes south, they're covered. They have their deposit. So basically, if we put 2 contracts in, like we have been with practicing, that initial margin will be 1,000. Your net liquidation is basically how much your account is worth after your contracts are sold. So if we were in a trade right now and we were 2 ticks up, that net liquidation would be $5,050. Gross realized P&L is how much you've made with your trade currently, and I believe this one fluctuates as it ticks up and down. Realized P&L is how much you've actually made today. Unrealized P&L, this will also fluctuate. It'll be how much you've made today plus how much you've made on your current in your current trading. And maybe we'll go over this a little bit more once we're in a trade and you can actually see those numbers reflect as you're in a trade. Got just about 4 minutes to go until the market opens. After you reset your simulated account, one thing you want to make sure too is just make sure that you're set on the correct account in your Super DOM so that you're trading from the correct account. You can do that right down here. Also make sure that you have your strategy set up based on what we put in the description. That way it locks in your stop loss and your price targets when you enter the trade. And if you're wondering what those settings should be, it should look something like this. This here is how many contracts you're going into. That's the time frame. The order is good until canceled. What that means is, if I were to put this, if I were to put an order here,
pending.
if I were to put an order here, this would stay up all day until it's filled. So it's good until canceled.
Order canceled.
Parameters. This is basically said how many number of ticks. So so these basically this defines ticks defines what this means. So it's going to be 6 ticks. So you could do 6% or $6 or pips or whatever, but we're going to go off based off of ticks. So our stop loss is always going to be 6 ticks for every contract that we go into. Our first price target is going to be 12 ticks. Our second price target is going to be 16 ticks, but we're going to adjust those as we get into the trade based on our targets. And then stop strategy, that's a little bit more than what we'll go into right now, but basically what this is it allows you to have a trailing stop. And if you guys want to go into that on your own, you can just hit custom, and then you can set trailing stops, and that's where you would do that. One thing you want to keep in mind when you're trading, if you're to hover over your super dom with your mouse like this, you'll notice the super dom freezes. So if you're trying to get into a trade and waiting for it to tick down and you have your mouse hovering over it like this, it's not going to tick down. But it actually did tick down, it's just frozen. So the market's open. See what happens here. And normally we don't trade within the first half hour. We like to let it make a trend first, see which direction it's going to be headed. And the reason why we draw these channel lines in here is because the market tends to repeat itself, and it's already bounced off the bottom of this channel almost 3 times, and you can expect it to react to that bottom or the top again somewhere down the line. If it doesn't, that usually indicates a breakout. So we'll see what happens this morning. Go ahead and take a quick peek at the news, make sure there's nothing going on. The only other indicator that we're using on our chart right now is basically just volume level. Like to keep the screen nice and simple. Um, I was one of those guys that had 20 different indicators on my screen. Stochastics, MACD, RSI, you name it. And really, I felt like I was watching the indicators more than I was watching the price action. And I think you make better trades if you're able to feel the price action and you get a feel for where the market's actually moving. Uh, and the indicators were just kind of clouding my judgment. So now I just keep it nice and simple. And these pivot points that we're drawing up here are actually based off of the high close, the low close. Um, there's math involved in there, but the computer does all that for you and draws in these resistance lines, support lines, and you can expect the market to react to those throughout the day as they reach those levels. And those work best on smaller time frames, 1 minute, 3 minute, 30 minute. It's more of a daily indicator because it's based off of the last day's close and high. Okay, so we kind of broke out of that channel. I was kind of expecting that. We were looking at a retracement on the 512 and on the 15-minute chart. So I would think we're going to probably bounce right around this support level here. It's already hit it 3 times. And these channels, basically, once they break through those, they kind of act as resistance. Once it comes back up, it may find resistance at that line. So we'll keep it there just for now. Doesn't hold a lot of weight, but it could. So right now it's a little interesting because we're actually in a short setup right now based on going from that previous high down to the low. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. It broke the short already, so we don't have to draw that. So basically, we'd be going into a long if it comes down to this entry area here. Oh, you know what? I was drawing from the wrong one. If you draw from the top here, going down to the low, that's the short there. So it could continue to go down because it's retraced 50% already. Our entry area there. Let me get rid of this so you can see it. So it came down, retraced back up to the 50% area, and now it should continue down. This would actually be the first target for it, and then second targets here at the negative 23. So we'll wait and see what happens. So we know that short is set up already. We'll keep an eye on that. But we're also going to keep an eye on the long if it decides to go up. It would need to come down to this entry area and then shoot back up. And that's for the long. So there's our long setup. Right at the 50% level. We'll see what it does here. And just so you guys know, we're doing the Emini ES chart, but this strategy is good for swing trading, 6E, Forex, you name it. The general principles are the same for the price action. It's kind of why I picked this strategy, is because it's pretty universal. Looks like we're getting a little bit of resistance there. Let's see if it holds. So this is our entry area here based on our Fibonacci levels. Draw from your low up to the high, and it will give you these, the 50% and the 61.8 on your chart, and this is your entry area. You're allowed to go one tick past the 61.8, which in this case would be 27.96. As long as it holds that level, you can expect it to shoot back up. Then your first target would be right here at 2802.50. And looks like that's what it's going to do. If you do miss getting in the trade down here, more times than not, it'll come back down to that level, and you're able to get in before it heads up. Beginning of the morning though, market just opened. Could do anything. Oh, speaking of which, let's go ahead and mark our open. Right about in there. F6 and click, and then I like to make it red just so it sticks out on the chart. We can see where we're at during the day. To change the color, you just click on the line, right click, properties, and then you can change the color of the line. And you can pick whatever color you want. So we got a nice move up so far off of this retracement area. We'll see if it continues. Based on the strategy, it should be able to reach this first target of 280250. If it does, we'll be looking to go long in the next retracement. It's pretty normal to get small pullbacks before it gets to that target area also. And if you notice, that was also right to the 50 for the retracement. Weird, I don't know why it does it, but that's just what it does. So your major levels, like 2800, 2900, you can always expect those to act as resistance or support. So once it gets there, it's not unusual for it to make a pause, a pullback. But once it breaks above that, usually it'll break pretty quick. It'll start moving. Never hurts to pull the opposing trade up. We'll pull up the short trade here. See, right now that level right there is right in the entry area for the short. So I'd like to see it break the 61.8 going up. That way we know that the long is in play. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this channel lines for now. Clean up our screen a little bit. So this is the long setup right now. From this low here up to the high. It retraced back to our entry area. And then this, you want to draw up the opposing short, which would be from that previous high down to the low. And it just retraced to that. So at this point we don't know exactly which way it's going to go. So Right now it looks like it's struggling to get up to that target area. Doesn't help that the 2800 levels right there. Hopefully everything looks good with the stream. Um, I'm wearing the headset because I was using the webcam mic and it just sounded kind of tinny, so hopefully the sound's a little bit better this morning. Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it. Yeah, last week originally I had started the stream at like a 4000 bit rate, and basically what that is basically the video quality. And YouTube was telling me that I could drop the bit rate down so that people that are watching it on their phones and stuff don't use as much data, and the quality is still there. So I dropped it down to I think 2500 or 3000. Just makes for a smoother stream. You don't get the buffering thing on your phones. All right, looks like we might hit that 2802 after all. So this long did hold. Retracement level was 27.98 and a quarter. Went one tick past, which is okay. That's still good for a trade. Still working on that 2800 level though. And this here is why you don't want to get in the market too early in the morning, because it does tend to chop. What we're waiting for is just to have it start establishing a trend, start making clean moves up or down before we get into a trade. So one thing you don't want to do is get into a trade here, watch it go up, watch it go down, watch it go up, watch it go down. The software that I'm using, Bobby, it's called OBS Studio. It's free and real easy to set up. You can make videos with it. You can use it for streaming. Super easy to use. I'll see if I can bring it up over here for you. It'll look a little weird because I'm actually casting the screen, so that's what it looks like. Then got my little different scenes here, my inputs, and all your controls here. I'm actually using two computers. I do all the scenes and everything on this computer here, and then it actually streams it from a different computer on the network. That way I'm using resources from two different computers, because if you try to do too much on one computer and stream it, it tends to uh, get a little choppy. Unless you got a gaming computer like my kids. So I don't have the newest computers, so I threw a video card in there to give it a quick upgrade and some more memory, and seems to be working pretty good. Yeah, you got to have the processing power, especially when you're working with high definition video and stuff. Obviously, this is a little less demanding. My boys stream games and stuff that they play on the computer, and that stuff's pretty intensive. Yeah, so we got the news coming up in about 5 minutes. See what happens with that. Not really expecting anything too bad. Yeah, I've got two boys and two girls. The one that was on Friday, she's my youngest. Then I got an older daughter. She's in New York right now. And my two sons, 16 and 18. Or God, no. God, 18 and 20. Time flies. Yeah, they do the gaming streams, and they get donations and stuff, and bits. They have a pretty good following, and you really can't knock it. I mean, you see what some of these game streamers are doing. They're making millions. I mean, maybe we're in the wrong business. So it came right back down to that entry area again, right to the same level. I have a feeling it's just going to chop back and forth here for a few minutes. I think everybody's waiting for that news to come out. And if for some reason you guys see in the description uh, Streamlabs, uh, for whatever reason, it automatically puts a link in there for donations, because it's some software that I use to show new subscribers and stuff. And somehow it has the authorization to put stuff in my description on YouTube. So if you see that link, don't worry about it. It's not me putting it there. Oh, that's a little bit better move there. We'll see if it can keep going up. There we go. So the first price target for that retracement is going to be 2802.50. Trump's going to take on Amazon now. God, he's going after everybody. Iran, Amazon, the Fed. That's a full plate. Alright, looks like we made that first target. We'll be looking to make this the next long trade. So we'll draw from our most recent low up to the high. So I went ahead and marked the first 30 minutes. The low for the first 30 minutes was 27.97. The high was 28.01 and a quarter. So now we'll just wait for that second retracement here, and we'll get into a long. Hopefully it'll pull back to that 50% area. We'll make a nice move up. Okay, so we can go ahead and get rid of that retracement area. Yeah, so it broke through that first pivot point there. So now that will probably act as support, and it's not going to let it get down to our retracement area on this move. One thing to note on these pivot points is once it breaks through that pivot point, it does act as support, and it also usually means that it's going to head on up to the next pivot point. that's based on a pivot point strategy, but we're obviously not using that, but just good to know. So according to that strategy, we can expect it to reach the 28, at least the 28.11 area. Looks like that pivot point's holding. We probably could get in here on a trade, but that's not the strategy. We'll stick to the strategy. So if it does break through that support, which looks like it's going to, I mean, this is kind of an estimated area for the pivot. If there's a 10-point move in the day and it holds, within this range right here, that's still considered a good, support area. So now it should head down to the 2800 level, which should also act as a support. We'll see. This is also considered as support here, the first 30-minute range. That's the top of that bar. Doesn't hold as much weight as, say the open or one of these pivot points. But it's good to have it on your screen because it does tend to react to it. Getting a nice healthy retracement though, that looks good. Hopefully it'll get down to our entry area. I'm going to try to be a little bit quicker on the executions this week. I think that was part of my problem with last week's trading. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger right at
Order pending.
2800 and a quarter. I'm going to trust in the strategy and see what happens. And I apologize for the elevator music in the background. You have to be careful what kind of music you use on these streams, and unfortunately Metallica is copyrighted. So not only that, I know traders like to listen to other things in the background. Usually they'll have their Bloomberg on or something, so I like to keep it kind of low. It is holding that area. Not sure if it's going to make it down to our entry area. We'll see. Come on, get down there. Almost there. Hmm. I like the resistance, but I want it to get me into the trade first. Come on, get there. So you might be tempted to try to chase this up and try to get into this trade. Not that I've ever done it. I have. But you'll end up kicking yourself in the butt when it comes down to the entry area, because then you'll be 3 ticks behind. And that's basically your emotions kicking in. It's fear of missing out. It's real. It'll get there. That's a pretty solid retracement, so can probably expect it to come down at least halfway, hopefully. All right, looks like it's going to try to get us in here.
Order filled.
There you go. So our first target for this trade will be right here at the 2803.50. Then our second target would be up here at 2805. Then some of those numbers I was talking about earlier with your account, you'll start to see those kick in here. So this is looking pretty good. Looks like we're heading up in a nice upward channel. Would have liked my stop to be below this channel line, but hopefully it'll hold. Or is it going to double bottom on us? So that's still good. It's one tick past the 61.8. Not looking super promising though. We'll see. Hopefully it starts making a move in the other direction here. Had a pretty good sell-off here, so
stop filled.
Alright, so that first one didn't hold. It's probably going to bounce off this channel line, or it's going to come and triple bottom here. So that one is dead. And that one was kind of my fault, because if you look here, if you drop the retracement, when you're placing your trade, you want to be mindful of where your stop is going to be placed. We know that we have a 6 tick stop rule, and that put my stop right above this channel line. Had I gotten into the trade down here, my stop would have been placed below the trade line, or the channel line. Now it may still break that channel and continue down to the 27.97 area, but still I should have been a little more mindful of where I entered the trade. And it looks like it's going to react to that channel line. So that one's definitely on me. So it looks like we may have an apex forming here. Alright, so we'll go ahead and wait and see what this is going to do here. Could retrace back down to that 50% area, or we may keep going and head down to this this bottom here, the 27.93. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to hold at the bottom of that channel line. That's why we draw those up, because it does, for whatever reason, tend to react. One thing I want to mention to you guys is I am not a professional trader. I'm probably just as new as some of you guys, or you may have more experience than me, but if you guys see something that I'm missing, feel free to chime in on the chat and let me know. I'm basically just testing out strategies, to help me learn, and in doing that, hopefully you guys are picking up, how to use the platform and how to set up, support and resistance, and how to use the platform basically. But there's no guarantees with any strategy, and that's why you test them. Yeah, but by all means, chime into the chat if you guys see something. I'm not going to get butthurt or nothing like that. So just waiting for this thing to make a move here. It's like coming to a slow grind. Alright, so it looks like we broke through that channel finally, and we're heading down. Yep, you called that one, Bobby. That's why I gotta keep an eye on the news. Probably should have waited on that trade until after the news came out. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. See if it bounces off the bottom here. So now, looks like we'll be looking for a short. For the short, we'll just draw from the most recent high down to the low and look for it to retrace into this area here. Might even be able to draw up to this one here. 98 down to 96. Kind of close on the risk to reward. You got bad news coming out, so can probably expect it to go down from here, but based on the strategy's risk to reward, we probably wouldn't get into this trade right here, especially with, resistance just below us. But if you're feeling froggy, by all means, go for it there. Make sure it's going to hold there though. Starting to get some resistance. That's a good sign. So that's still a valid trade. One tick past the 61.8. First target would be the 27.96. Not sure if it's going to hold there or not though. So far, so good. There it goes. Broke that trade. So now we'll be looking for it to do a bigger retracement up to this area here. Alright, so we made it up to that entry area. I'll see if it can hold here. Kind of would expect a bigger move down based on that news, but we are technically in an upward trend here, a recent upward trend. But this could be the new trend. Yeah, so it broke that trade too. Hmm. We may see a reaction to this pivot point here. Who knows? It's pretty much stayed in this first 30-minute range, just kind of going back and forth. Yeah, Martin, you're probably right there. We should probably look at the bigger time frame. And if you look at the 15-minute chart, it is in kind of a sideways trend. Slight upward, but more of a sideways pattern. That's why we getting chopped back and forth. Makes for kind of boring trading, but we'll probably just wait until it gets out of this 30-minute range. Right now, everything's just been right in here. And you can try to guess tops and bottoms, but you just, right now, it's not really following any set pattern. Didn't come down to the bottom of the channel there. Didn't stop at the pivot point here. Created, a new channel bottom here. Yeah, I just looked at the pivot points there, Paul, and so you're saying change this from calculate from intraday data to daily, from daily data. I'll try that. I know you can't type in the chat. We'll go ahead and try that and just let me know. Yeah, 2801.50. Gotcha. Yeah, right on with that, Martin. I think we do have to wait on that. Yeah, right now the market really doesn't know what it wants to do. It's making new highs, making new lows. It's never really a good idea to get in when it's going into a widening pattern like that. And you thought trading was going to be exciting. Still going sideways, Martin. Wonder if probably have to change it on this one too, huh? Yeah, if you guys are using those pivot points on the chart, Paul had just emailed me and told me that it's better to calculate from the daily bars rather than intraday bars. So we'll try that and see how it's looking. So far, that 280150 pivot point is reacting to it. And that's on the 15 minute there. Then back on the 512. We'll see what happens. Now it looks like it's riding right along the pivot point. There we go. All right, looks like we're back up to that retracement area for the short. This will be the fourth time it's been up here, and it still hasn't made a strong enough move to get down to the target, which just so happens to be the first support level. Sorry guys, I know this doesn't make for a very exciting stream, waiting for a trade. But if anything, if you learn one thing from the stream, it's just following your strategy and making sure you're waiting for the entry signals that you're looking for. Yeah, before we had our channel line drawn to this bottom right here, because that's what it was following. And then Martin had mentioned that this was a false breakout, which you got to watch for those because a lot of times you think it's going to run down, especially after the news and stuff, and then bam, pops right back up. And there's reasons for that. If you do some research and stuff like that, the banks and stuff will do that because they know your stops are down here. You know, if you're entering the market right here, your stops are going to be down here, and they know it. So they're going to drive the price down just enough to stop you out, and then run it back up. I don't claim to know exactly how the banks work, but I know they do that stuff. You know, if they want to get into a position, they need the contracts to sell or the contracts to buy low, and your sell order is a buy for them. Your sell stop. I just wish it would pick a direction here. You can draw up the long here, see if it retraces back. We know this short here is broken because it broke the 61.8 there. So we'd be looking for a long. But it just continues to go sideways. Pretty light volume this morning too. Yeah, so far this morning we've really just seen conflicting signals. We're in a slightly upward trend here, but then it's showing us downward trend here. If you're going to do some trading, you really want more definitive signals than that. This is agonizing. Torture you with some Elton John while we're waiting. Well, we just broke out of that 1.5 range that we've been in for the last 20 to 30 minutes. Could be starting to see a move here, finally. So that's a 50% retracement entry area for the long here. We'll see if that holds. Nothing's been holding here. So far it's holding. We'll see what happens. So what do you guys think? And make a trade somewhere above the highs here? At least wait for it to break out of this channel. I wouldn't be surprised if we go into an apex here and then make a move. So we're probably just going to bounce back and forth between these for the next half hour. So that 50% retracement held, it looks like. I don't think it's going to get up to the target at 2802.50. I think we're probably going to go up to probably about 2802 or just below it. I don't think it's going to break out of the channel here. I would expect it to come down again. It'd be nice if it broke out of the channel. We might finally get some trades in. Yeah, I think you're right on that, Martin. I think it's going to come back down here and probably going to get some type of reaction down at the bottom of this channel, which would probably be at the 97.50 mark once it comes down. And it's either going to hold there or it's going to break out there. It'd be nice if it popped out here, but I don't think it's going to. And it just doesn't want to get out of this 30-minute range. Could be a consolidation day. Well, if you did take the trade here, it would have been a nice 2 point move for you. Didn't get to the target area, but 2 points might be all you get today. Might get a move here after all. Maybe not. Almost got to that first target. comes the downward move, Martin. Shadows like that 280150 area. Called that one, Paul. It's looking like it wants to pop out of this channel here. Just not sure if it's going to do it on this move or come back down and then pop out. Yeah, this might be it. Finally made it to that target. Not a real reassuring move. Just kind of hovering there. Let's see if it can make a new high here. Nope, looks like it's another fake out breakout. Does look like it wants to make a move up though. Just getting a lot of resistance there. We'll see if this pivot point acts as a support or not. So that trade there did actually work out. Retraced down to the entry area here. It held at the 61.8. Went one tick past, which is still a good trade. Went up to the first target here. Hopefully it bounces off this pivot point and continues up. We might actually be able to get in some trades here. If you did take that trade, the second target would be your negative 23%. There we go. Looks like all the markets are pretty much hovering today. Finally starting to get some type of movement here. So we're looking for it to break this high right here. This is the high for today's trading. If it can break through that, hopefully we'll get a nice move up. Still struggling. Alright, so that's a little more reassuring. We just made a new high for the day. Made it up to that second target from this trade. So we looking to make a long here. Now it would, it would make sense for it to retrace back to that pivot point, which is going to be right around our entry area. May make it down there, may not. We'll see. go ahead and get rid of this channel line here. Starting to see a little bit more structure here. You got a nice push and ease, push and ease, push and ease, push and ease, and then just like to see a little bit stronger pop. Probably see it come to the top of this channel and then do a nice retracement that we can get in on. Definitely wouldn't mind seeing it going up to this top of that channel there. That would put us in pretty good shape because we'd have that really strong support level at the 0150 right in this area, right in our entry area. As it sits right now, it's just above our entry area. I definitely would be really tempted to get in on that trade. There we go. The way we draw up these channels is basically just grabbing the two previous highs, and usually you can expect some type of reaction at those points. You know, as we saw down here, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But it's a good idea to have them drawn up just so you can see why it's reacting there. Okay, so hopefully we'll get a nice retracement here back down to our pivot point, which would put us right on our entry area. So if we were to get into the trade right here, that would put our stop at 2800, which would be right here, which is below the 61.8, which is nice. So we have a little bit of flexibility there. It's always a good idea to have your stop below the 61.8 so that if it does retrace fully, that you're not going to get stopped out. So on the 15-minute chart, it just broke the short. That's a good sign. On the 15-minute, we do have some resistance at 2806-ish, just based on our channel here. So we'll have to see if that holds up here. If it drops down to our entry area, it really wouldn't matter because the 2806 would be our second target, and we could expect a reversal right around this area. We're definitely due for a retracement. Starting to see a lot more red here. I may just wait until it gets up to this 2806 area and then do a full retracement. It's just taking its time to get up there. Just waiting for it to make a move, guys. Hanging in limbo. If you're new to the stream or just getting here, appreciate you guys stopping in and supporting the stream. We're testing a strategy. It's a 50% retracement of the Fibonacci's. Walk you through the entry, exit, strategy specifics, and the risk reward management. Kind of a slow morning. Just been in kind of a sideways pattern here. Waiting for somebody to make a move here. Looked like the bulls were going to take over here, but then they just kind of died out. So we drew up the long for this one. Basically, we're going from the most recent significant low up to the high. Now we're just waiting for it to retrace back to our 50% area. And this is our entry area. Phil, if you're in the room, I appreciate the subscribe over the weekend. I got notification of that. Thanks for joining the room. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to head for that 2806 area before it retraces. If you look at our 15-minute chart, it's always good to take a look at a couple different time frames. It's due to come down at the 2806 area, and then we're hoping that it'll bounce down to our pivot point here, which is right in our entry area. We had a trade set up earlier. We didn't take it because it was still within the 30-minute range, but it's set up right here in the entry area. It was one tick past the 61.8, which is still a valid trade. It went up to the first target, which is 2802. Then it went up to the second target of 2804. It's still going. We didn't take it. I don't know if any of you guys took that trade or not, but just to explain some of the lines that I have on the screen here, this is a channel that had formed earlier. I think that had actually formed before the open this morning, so we just drew that up. That's one channel. And then as the morning progressed, we started to form this channel here. So I drew this one up. And right now it looks like it's going to break out of this bigger channel up here and resume in the smaller channel. Don't like to have too many lines on the screen, but it's a good idea to know where the market might react. It doesn't always hold those channel lines, but it's a good idea to know if it may react there or not. So this is pretty much right where we expected it to get to, was the 2806 area. And then we should get a nice retracement hopefully after that. Which makes sense because this is previous high was right there at the 2806 mark. And that was basically our overnight high. Well, the weekend high, I should say. Getting real close to that 2806. Should be expecting a little bit of a reaction here shortly. This is our 15-minute chart here. Seems like the market's been hovering at this 2800 level forever. Hey Gadgets, welcome to the stream, buddy. Appreciate you stopping in. For those of you that don't know my name is Lonnie. I'm not trying to hide it or anything, it's just really nowhere to put it on the screen. I guess I could put it over my webcam. I'll have to work on that. Not a super exciting stream so far this morning, it's just been kind of a grind. Nobody's making a real strong move at all. If you are just joining us, we are here every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock my time. But usually get on about a half hour before the market opens, get our charts set up. Everything that you see here on the screen is free. All the indicators, the Ninja Trader platform, you can download a free demo and get your chart set up just like we have it here. So you guys can join along on the trading, if there was any. We've had one setup so far, or actually two setups. We had one here for a long that we took. That ended up breaking down, so we got stopped out on that one. Then we had our second setup here at 27.98 and a quarter, and that one ended up running about 7 points. But we didn't take that trade because we were still in a consolidation area here, so we didn't take the trade. Go figure. Oh, this could be our move here, hopefully. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. Alright, finally getting a move here, hopefully. Just going to go ahead and get rid of some of these other lines that we drew in. That was our 30-minute range from the morning. Just to clean it up a little bit so we can see our entry area a little bit better. So basically we're waiting for it to come down to our entry area, which is the 50% retracement. And the way we get that is just drawing from our most significant recent low up to the high with our Fibonacci retracements. And NinjaTrader, you hit F8, brings up your little pencil there, you draw up to the high, and you'll get your 50% retracement area. This here is our pivot point, so we're hoping that that's going to be a good support level, which would be nice because it's right in our entry area. So it's a double win. Not only that, we got the bottom of our channel coming up here, so we can expect a reaction to that to the upside. So a couple of things working in our favor anyways on this trade, if it can make it down there. While we're waiting for that to come down here, I'll just recap some of our trades for the people that just joined us. So this morning, I'm going to get rid of this real quick. Let's see here. Yeah, this morning we had a double bottom during trading hours. Then we popped up. So we drew our fibs from the double bottom there. See if I can zoom in on this so you guys can see it. Drew up our Fibonacci up to the high. This was our entry area right here. So hit the entry area, we got in, and it did end up breaking down and we got stopped out right about there. So it was a little bit early in the day. We probably should have waited for a little bit better setup, because we thought this was a pretty strong move up, so we should have seen continuation of that, but we just didn't get the continuation. Ended up breaking down to the bottom of the channel there, so came back up, bounced off the bottom of the channel again, went to the top of the channel. So now we're just waiting for it to break down to our retracement area again. Actually, we did have a second setup right here. Came down to the bottom of the channel, drew up to the high there. This was our retracement area here. Came down one tick past the 61.8, which is still a valid trade. Came up to the first target here. That would have been our first target for the trade. Second target would have been the negative 23%. Made it up to there, and then it's just been kind of hovering. So we're waiting for our next setup, which would be from this most recent significant low up to this high, and we're looking to get in right in this area. So up here you'll see our P&L. We start our account at 5,000. Our stop is 6 ticks. Trading 2 contracts, those 6 ticks would be $150. So we lost $150 in that morning trade that we did. The $8.96, that would be the commissions from the 2 contracts based on NinjaTrader's fees for they have different pricing depending on whether you lease or buy the platform, but that $8.96 would be if you lease the program, or I'm sorry, if you use the platform for free. You can actually lease the platform and those commissions would be a little bit cheaper. As a beginner trader, you'd probably want to just use the free platform and pay the per contract commissions when you first start out, especially if you're only doing 2 or 3 trades a day. And I'm not affiliated with NinjaTrader or any other stock market indicator, futures indicator, or nothing like that. I just like the NinjaTrader platform. The user interface is really easy to learn. It's visually nice. You can customize it pretty much any way you want. And it's got a lot of free indicators built into it that you don't have to pay for. These are all the different indicators that are available for free. All your main indicators, your stochastics, your RSI, MACD, volume, moving averages, pivot points, you name it, they're all built into the program and they're all free. So if you want to pay $800 for an indicator, by all means go for it. But I prefer the free stuff. Not that I'm cheap or anything, but just like to keep it simple. Probably be cutting the stream at about 10 o'clock or just before. I have to be somewhere at 10:30 this morning, 10:30 Arizona time. I blew the engine on my truck and I'm picking up a new engine today, so lots of fun activities. The first day of school for the kids. They start really early here. We used to live in New York and didn't start school until September. Here they start in end of July. Oh, I guess it would help if I was actually where I was supposed to be here. The strategy that we're using here is basically what Emini Mine teaches. Uh, his name is Tim Reset. I put a link to his YouTube channel down in the description, but he's got a lot of free training on this strategy. And the reason I picked it is it's super simple, it's easy to learn, and I had used it for about 2 months before I started the stream, and it was performing pretty well. Uh, Here in the past week or so, we haven't had a whole lot of luck with it. We had a pretty rough week last week with it, but the market's been a little bit tough here lately as far as the movement. It just hasn't moved real well. Okay, there we go. There's that 2806 area that we were looking for. So it's either going to break out here, or we're expecting to drop down and do a retracement here. We'll see. But as soon as it creates that new high, you need to adjust your Fibonacci's to the new high. So right now it could retrace back to this most significant low. Retrace back to this area, but kind of expecting a little bit bigger retracement here. But it did break out of that channel, and it did break out of that channel, so may continue upward here, which would be nice. This one here, if we're looking at the risk to reward ratio on this trade, as far as risk management, our entry area would be about 2805.75. Our first target would be 2807.75. That's a 2-point spread there for your trade. Our tick, or our stop, is 6 ticks, which is $150. So $200 winner to $150 loser. the risk to reward really isn't there, but if the market starts to make a good move up and you want to get in on a trade, you could get in on that. If it holds to that area. We'll see. I'm kind of thinking that it's going to retrace down to this area, but we'll keep an eye on this for now until it breaks that. If it holds in this area, I think we're going to go ahead and take the trade. I'm not so much concerned about P&L as much as just learning the entry, the exits, the targets, things like that. If it holds in this area, we'll take the trade, and our first target will be 2807.75. So based on the 15-minute chart, it looks like it's breaking out, but we've seen that a couple times this morning where it's kind of broken out like that and then it's dropped right back in the channel. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And that's what they call a fake out breakout. Starting to form a small double top here, so might see a move down here, hopefully. Whenever you get a double top or a double bottom, it's a good indicator for a reversal in the direction. Alright, so while we're waiting for this retracement down to here, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. I know these setups take a while, and I know that we're only using one strategy. The idea is to learn one strategy really well and know all the ins and outs of it, what the signs are, uh, where the entries are, where the exits are, uh, price targets. Once you learn one strategy and you got it down, then you can learn another strategy. Therefore, you're not waiting for just one strategy setup, you're waiting for others. So that when you're in a slow market like this, you may not get a entry signal for the Fibonacci retracement strategy, but you might get a signal for another entry strategy entry, so that you're not sitting around and waiting. But sometimes the market is just slow like that, and it's a patience game. You gotta have patience and wait for your entries. You can try to guess bottoms and guess tops, but it doesn't work out in your favor in the long run. I know, because I've done it. But we'll give this strategy a fair run, and then we'll go from there. Maybe we'll move on to another strategy that we all can learn. I know there is a strategy based on these pivot points. Um, for instance, once it breaks through a pivot point, that would be the entry signal. And once it breaks through that, you would put your stop below the pivot point, and you can expect it to run to the next pivot point, which would be the first resistance area, and your price target would be right there. So that's another strategy that we may look into in the future once we learn this one and get it down pat, and see whether it works or not. See if statistically it's going to pay off in the long run. Based on the last week's performance, not so good. And part of it was me, hesitating to get into a trade and whatnot. But it has worked for me in the past, so that's why I chose it. Yeah, it's just been a slow grind today. So our next pivot point on the 512 chart is at 2810. Go ahead and adjust our Fibonacci levels here. May have missed our only good setup today down here. Right now that's looking at a about an 11-point gain. $11-point gain with the two contracts would have been $550. Would have definitely helped offset our loser for the morning. So basically with this strategy, there's a couple different ways you can exit the trade. You can use the price targets. First target would be the 0%. Second target would be the 23%. Or you can trail your stop. So if we were to get into the trade right here on this one, we would have waited for it to make a new high. Then we would have moved our stop up one tick below this low right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. We would have entered right there. We would have waited for it to make a new high, actually probably before a new high after this high here. So once it got up to about here, we would have moved our stop just below that low. Then once it makes another new high, then you'd move your stop up below this low, and so on. And you would just follow it up until you got stopped out. That's another exit strategy that you can use with this strategy. Especially this morning with these small moves, that would have kept you in the trade, and you would have got stopped out just below where it peaked. Actually, you'd still be in the trade at this point. Would have moved it there, to there, to there, to there, and then it would have made a new high here, and you would have put your stop there, and then it would have made a new high here, and you would have put your stop here. So at this point, you'd still be in the trade with your stop at 2806.50 from 27.98. The trail stop allows you to stay in the trade longer if the trade runs. You hear the saying, let your winners run, and that's the way you would do that, is by trailing your stop. Or if you're just a more straightforward person, you can just use your price target, 0%, negative 23, done. Lock in the profit. Or you could do both. Take one contract off here and then trail your second contract up. A couple different options. Unbelievable though, this is just incredibly slow. Trump needs a tweet or something, I don't know. He's definitely looking older already. You can see it in his face. Markets are just up slightly. Nothing really going on. Come on, let us get into another trade. If you're just joining the stream, welcome to the stream. Appreciate you stopping by. Just patiently waiting for our entry signal. Very, very patiently. If you guys are enjoying the stream, um, drop a subscribe. It does help bring more people to the stream, so yeah, more than just me to talk to. We may have to look into getting another strategy to test run for the stream just to try to get a few more trades in per day. So far, we've had just two opportunities to get into trades, and we lost on that one and we missed that one. So maybe over the next day or two, I'll find a second strategy that we can focus on along with this one. Just hate for you guys to be just sitting there waiting around for a trade setup. If it's boring for me, I know it's got to be really boring for you guys. It is a lonely career, I'm telling you. I want to be in and out, 1 hour and done. Might have been a little more exciting if we had gotten in that trade down there, watching it come up, but we missed that one. Scalping strategy. That's a good idea, Bobby. I enjoy scalping. And it can be really profitable if you know what you're doing and if you're safe with your stops. I'm going to look into that tonight. I'm going to see if I can find a nice simple scalping strategy. And if you know of one, just put it in the chat here and we'll look into it. Yeah, it would definitely be on a bigger time frame for sure, like a 5 minute or 15 minute. And I have done that before. And the only problem I had with it was finding the tops and bottoms. But it did make for a much more exciting trading day, for sure. So if anybody in the chat knows of any scalping strategy that you'd like to try out, let me know. I'll put my email address in the chat too, just so you guys have it. Emini streamer. I know some people are shy in the chat, and that's cool. I don't mind that. just drop me an email. Bobby, were you thinking about streaming? Is that why you asked about the OBS or the streaming software? Many different streams or many different strategies? Oh, yeah. Yeah, with that OBS software that we were talking about earlier, they have it to where you can actually do it from their website now, or you can download the software to your computer. I kind of like the desktop software because I don't know, just seems safer, I guess. But it's super easy to set up, and obviously, if I can do it, then I'm sure you guys can. Starting to make its way down to that retracement area. Yeah, we've had the stream bug in our house for a while. My two boys stream their game. I think they play League of Legends, and they stream that. They do pretty well with it. My youngest daughter, she likes to stream her LPS, Littlest Pet Shop videos. Yeah. Yeah, same here. I think the desktop version is just a lot more stable. They just came out with the web version. Starting to get a little bit better structure. Nice pushes up and then nice ease, push up and ease. This here. Yeah, basically just waiting for it to get down to that retracement area there. Just very slow today. Well, guys, I think we're gonna end the stream a little bit early today and cut it off there. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting the stream. I know a couple of you guys have been here since last week when we started, and I appreciate that. I got my work cut out for me today. I have to go pick up an engine for my truck, and I got the old one ready to come out, and I just got to pop the new one in. I hope it's as easy as I make it sound. So it's definitely easier than trading, I can tell you that. But Thanks again, guys, for joining the stream. And if you want to learn more about the strategy that we're using, you can visit Tim Ressett's YouTube channel. It's called Emini Mind, and the link is down in the description of the video. And I'm not affiliated with him in any way. It's just I found him browsing through YouTube, and I've watched a lot of his videos. They're all free and they're super useful. But you'll get the in-depth look at how the strategy works and whatnot that we're using. And Martin, I appreciate you stopping by, buddy. Bobby, Lou, Phil, um, Paul, if I'm forgetting anybody. Thanks for stopping in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.